I'd like to introduce Kyu LEE from Gamevil. He's head of U.S. operations and been doing games a long time. So I think he's got some really great information to share with you, kind of on both sides of at a macro level on, being a publisher, being a developer, and the pros and cons of each of those, and how we can all work together in a big, happy family. So with that, Kyu, kick it off.
All right. Hello. Can everybody hear me? Okay. So today I'm going to talk about adding value, lessons learned from a developer becoming a publisher. It's a big topic, but I'm going to make it pretty short. To tell you a little bit about Gamevil at a glance, we were established in the year 2000. We currently have about 150 people. Our founder is Byung-Jun Song, and we have offices in LA and Seoul, Korea. Our US office was built in 2006, and recently in 2009 we went public in the Korean stock exchange market. And in the past I've been with the company since the year 2000, so it's 11 years with Gamevil, and I started our overseas business from 2003 or so. We've been working with a lot of mobile game publishers back in the days, like Hands-On, iPlay, Disney, Jamdad, to mention a few of them. And then from 2006, we decided to do our own publishing, and we set up our office, try to get the distribution deal with the carriers, and started publishing our games. And I don't think it has been a really easy journey for us until these app stores came out, and I think we're in a new phase of our company, and a lot of changes have been made recently, and I'll briefly talk about my experiences on both sides. So first of all, I wanted to talk about the developer's point of view. I was talking earlier about the carriers and what the publishers had to do. Before, we were porting to hundreds of devices. We needed companies who did porting. We needed companies who did testing. Of course, we needed distribution through bigger parties and marketing, PR to reach the customers. And as everybody knows, since the application stores like App Store first went live, a lot of things changed. So these application stores basically took care of everything that was in between. Well, Apple came out with one device, so it was less SKUs, no certification. We had to pay for testing before. And then for distribution, we didn't have offices globally, but Apple, through the App Store, we were able to service our games in 80 plus countries. Marketing was all dependent on the deck, and the deck wasn't really decided by the carriers in some sense, and it was just based off of the download. And also the PR was pretty much replaced by the user reviews too. So under these type of circumstances, a lot of developers have been talking about, why do we need a publisher? That's exactly what we've been thinking for a while too. And the question that we've been asking was, I'm going to talk about both sides a little bit more, but so one of the things that we first noticed was the amount of applications being serviced on the App Store. The number of apps have been tremendously increasing. When we first put out our game in 2009, it was an easy port from our existing feature phone game just to test out the market, and it did pretty well. Our first game sold more than $1 million in revenue, and we were constantly pushing out newer titles, and we were finding out that the challenge on staying high on the deck has become more and more difficult as years and years pass by. And for most of the developers, I believe everybody's talking about discovery, how to get noticed in a lot of ways. And so in this phase, I kind of felt like there were needs for publishers, and there were actually some pretty good publishers like Chilingo out in the space trying to add value. From the developer's point of view, like when you're facing this type of competition, it's really hard. You have to really make the right decisions for your team. And well, even though it's yourself, you have to make the decision if you're going to bootstrap longer, or if you're going to raise money, or if you're going to work with publishers, or if you're going to get bought. There's a lot of different type of decision makings that the current app developers have to make. And quite honestly, I think it's a really good time overall because there's a large amount of interest into the industry, and the potential is enormously huge to do a lot of these type of activities. The quality of the games have been rising, and also with only one title. I think a lot of people here at this conference have been talking about the value of the network effect or the cross-promotion. If you have like one game or two games, it's really, you can't cross-promote at all. All you'll probably have to do is see your rankings drop on the page chart. One of the limited ways that you'll try to push it up with is by launching a light version, or you're constantly going to do updates, and if that still doesn't work, you'll probably have to move on to your next title, and you'll have to manage that traffic in order to continue to succeed. And in this point of view, I think the developers can start thinking on like raising money, like if you're going to continue to bootstrap, or if you're going to take some more strategic money, where I think the publishers make much more quicker decisions, and it's much more easier to get deals, and they could add value to your product pretty easily. Where also there's a lot of angel investors and venture capitals out there too. This may be a little bit slower. It may take a little bit harder because you're not only selling your own product, but you're trying to sell your whole company. But definitely, if you do get venture capital money, it will add value to your corporate. So these are the type of things that you could even loan money from the bank if you want to, but these are the type of things that I think most of the developers are facing right now. And in the publisher's point of view, we've done this for a long time, and I think we've seen this before. A new platform arrives, just like for mobile 1.0. A new platform arrives, competition is fiercely driven by a lot of money raised into the industry. We've seen this in the past where, like, I think companies like Hands-On, they raised close to $100 million, and they were facing competition with Jamdat, who later got acquired to EA. And there were also companies like Gameloft who were building everything themselves. So we've seen this before. After, once the competition begins, these funds come in, these M&A activities start rolling, and then the winners get defined. I think in the previous world, there were, like in the Western world, there were three companies who went public. I think Jamdat went public, Gameloft went public, Glue went public. In South Korea, our own market, our company went public, Come To Us went public. And so these type of winners are defined. And then after these winners are defined, everybody, then you start segmenting. You have to find your own niche, or you'll have to be strong in a certain market. The market starts to segment. And then they changed the name of the game. So I think you've seen this on Facebook too. The new Facebook platform gets in, all the competition starts, all the money gets raised, the winners are defined, Zynga wins, and then there's segmentations like Kabam trying to focus their sector into role-playing games, and then the platform changes. Everybody's now focused on mobile. 2 years ago, everybody here was talking about Facebook. Nobody was paying attention to mobile at all. Last year, the amount of attention started to increase, and I think from this year, everybody's all talking about mobile. I was at GameSpeed last week, and yeah, the whole sessions were all about mobile too. So I've been sitting only here, so I'm not sure, but I think most of the sessions here were more interesting than the sessions going over there. So yeah, the mobile game 1.0 sector has ended. The social game has ended, and now we're facing a new game change, but this time it's combined together. And I think we're at this phase where we have a new game and we're facing competition. After this is done, maybe before this is done, I think a lot of companies are already talking about HTML5. That's the new game that everybody wants to play now. So once this is, but I think there's tremendous growth opportunity, still a tremendous amount of growth opportunities here. So it's very interesting. And in a publisher's point of view, you have to think about what you're going to do in this competition stage strategy. So for our company, we have about 150 people. Korea has a huge amount of mobile game talent. So we could have tried to follow the Gameloft route, hiring 5,000 people in Korea. That sounds pretty tough for us, but building larger teams is definitely one of the options that we could have taken. One of our close competitors come to us. They've been hiring really rapidly, and I think, yeah, they're almost double the size of our company. I think we kind of chose a different route from them in some sense, and like to work with developers. And trying to do more mergers or acquisitions is the route that we've been trying to look at it. Because at the end of the day, in this type of ecosystem, can we compete with the developers and try to be dominant in this space? I think it's impossible. Every day you're seeing hundreds of games being serviced on the App Store, and we're not confident of pushing out one game a day even. So it's hard to compete. And I think the only way to succeed in this market is to cooperate with multiple developers. And fortunately, we do have the benefit of having some cash throughout the years of operation, and I think that's one of the directions that we've been heading. The publisher's add value definition has also changed too. So back in 2008, yeah, the App Store was opened, and so I think the early stage publishers were either trying to add value to the game production, like they'll refine the game, they'll advise on many aspects of the production. They'll also provide support for PR and marketing. They'll probably have very strong relationships with the platform holders. And I think those are the type of values that were added as a publisher in the initial phase. Interesting thing that happened in 2009 was after the adoption of in-app purchases. From this time, I think the value that the publisher had to add slightly changed. Now the publisher has to add value to the user acquisitions. They also have to add value to the network effects. They also have to have very strong knowledge in terms of how to on generating higher revenue, retention strategies, monetization know-how. I think you've heard a lot of those stories talked about throughout the panels this week. But this is a new type of value that has been added. And from last year, another interesting thing that happened was the rise of the Android platform. And I think the Android is a very interesting animal in some sense, because the iOS is dominant by the App Store alone, but for Android, there's a lot of alternative distribution opportunities. Just like Amazon is coming up with their own App Store, a lot of carriers are doing that too. Verizon here has a VCast apps. In Korea, all three carriers are doing tremendously well. It's a very well played VCast in some sense. So we're actually making more money off of those three carriers than we are from the rest of the world on Android market. So the sales are tremendously huge, and I think the new add value that will happen in the future is through these distribution channels. And on top of that, I think you're also you've been seeing talks from like Gree and DNA with their Mobage platform. So all of those new distribution channels are also going to be a value that that the publisher will add. So as a developer, if I'm small, I think I could still work on my own product and push it to one store, App Store, and be pretty successful for it. But once you start getting bigger, you'll have to think about all of these aspects, and if you're able to tackle all of these in the right way too. So, and I think that's where the publisher value is increasing. Well, I think it's the same for any industry, and it could be a sad fact, but the world isn't fair for everybody. So, I think you have to make the right moves in order to survive. I think one of the reasons why Gamevil has been able to be where we are right now is because of our ability to survive. Surviving is a very important tactic, and I think you have to understand the macros that are going around you. So, in terms of development, there's different things that the publishers can add. I think in terms of human resource or funding, the creative side is where the developers are very strong at. I think the publishers can help you on the monetization side. So Gamevil also launched a partner fund. We were already doing a lot of deals. We're doing a lot of deals right now. We've been doing more than one deal every month, on whether it's a publishing deal or it's a IP acquisition deal or it's a corporate acquisition deal. We've been working with like dozens of developers, and we've been signing up a lot of contracts. Some of them are multiple product deals. So like we may have like deals for the next 6 titles that they launch or so. So we're very aggressive in it, and 10 million is, we were just doing this a little bit quietly, but we decided to announce it so that more developers can be aware of it. But some of the deals that we did are listed below. And so another thing that companies may ask is, so you don't even have a single freemium game, and how are you going to help on monetization, and how are you going to help on retention? Is the question that publishers, developers have been asking. Actually, this is 2010 figures. If you look at or 2011 figures that will be announced pretty soon, from last year. Already half of our revenues were from in-app purchases. More than it's going to be a significant part of our revenues this year. We started launching all of our games like Xenonia 3, Baseball Superstars, which we launched yesterday on the Android market. We launched them as free with in-app purchases. And also on the iOS side, most of our existing games that are already on the App Store will turn free. We're one of the first, world's first on microtransactions in mobile games, since we've been doing it since 2007. And I think we've created a lot of know-how on how it actually works. So this is a simple demand curve, but in the previous world, we were just deciding on a price and getting the quantity out of it. Once in-app purchase started happening, we could fully monetize the full demand curve. And when we were first doing in-app purchases for paid apps, we were doing a step-by-step rollout. We started monetizing the whales. So we were starting to monetize the area above the blue side. And from this summer, we're going to convert all of our games to free, and I think we're going to start monetizing the lower part on the right. Yeah, so we can monetize both the whales and the penny pinchers. So this is our sales results. In 2007, we started doing in-app purchases. And then what you can see is that once we started monetizing our whales, our sales have been growing significantly. And then also our profits have been growing significantly too. This is in Korean won. So in 2008, we did about 15 million in revenue, and then we started making about 6 million in profit. Next year, we did 24 million, and then 13 million in profit. 2010, we did about 28 million and 15 million in profit. And this is where our cash has been coming from. And we're very excited about this year, where we're starting to turn all of our games free. In the Korean market, we've been turning all of our games free, and I think there's much more growth that we could get from the penny pitchers this year, and we're really excited to see how that can contribute to our figures. So I think this is pretty much it, but I wanted to give you some examples on how we've been working with the developers. We do about 10 titles a year, so I think the amount of attention that we could pay to the developers working on with us is huge. We'll push the developers' titles just like it is our title. Like for Kami Retro, we were able to get the iPhone Game of the Week very luckily. It was unexpected. We also got featured by Google Android Market below. We were also featuring Kami Retro as our main game at Google I/O. So yeah, Kami Retro, the developers' Pop Print games are located in UK. It was a great experience. We're learning every time we publish a new title. The next title that one of the titles that we did was Air Penguin. Yeah, we did a lot of pre-release marketing, but and we also worked on like the icons, which the right one is the one that we decided on. We changed the name from Mr. Penguin to Air Penguin. We work on the screenshots. We also added in-app purchases to the game so that we could convert it to free at one point in the future. This is Chalk and Talk. This also didn't have any type of in-app purchase at all, and we designed the whole in-app purchase for them too. So I think we're trying to help the developers in a lot of different ways. This is the game on the left is called Destinia. This hasn't been released in the US yet. It's an RPG game that's doing very well on the freemium charts in Korea. This game that we took called Touch Mix, we relaunched it. We actually we brought this person in, and we put our designers into the team, and we relaunched the game. It shot up to the #1 game on the T Store on SK Telecom. So, yeah, there's a huge improvement on the graphics and the games. So, yeah, these are some of the examples, and there's a lot of deals that I can't even talk about, but it's a very exciting phase for us, and I know that there are a lot of people who want to do it by themselves. Please do so. But if you do need a helping hand in some sense, I think we're able to provide the best service. We'll do our best, at least. If we're not the best, we'll try to do our best. Is something that I can say. And thank you very much. This is my contact. You can drop me an email anytime. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye. Well, I'll actually take some questions.
Thanks. Hi, Kyu. As an iOS developer, if we were to partner with you guys, would you be able to bring Android development to the table?
Well, we're not providing that service right now. What we are providing is we're telling the developers to do both iOS and Android, and we could give you better terms. And I know that for Android, I think we're one of the best in the world to monetize, just because of the Korean piece alone. It's huge. Okay. So, lady in the front.
I know that you're working almost exclusively in the Asian market, and what type of games on the Android or iOS or whatever are doing well? And are they different from games that do well here, or? So
that's a good question. One of the things, the Asian market used to be a paid market. I can't talk about Asia. I'll talk about Korea. The Korean market used to be a paid market with in-app purchases. So if it's a paid market with in-app purchases, you're mainly going after the whales. So all the games that we were creating were like role-playing games or very highly immersive games targeting the hardcore users. However, since the smartphone came out and we're just releasing games as freemium, I think this will bring in a whole new set of users. And I've been hearing that yeah, in-app purchases in general are doing very well in Asia, and yeah, and we're publishing globally, so please don't think of us as a Korean-only publisher. Okay. Thank you very much.